Ambitious and motivated are words that describe you best. Then you're on the right place. This is Motivational Radio Friends from Paris with your host, Longi Agoha.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Today, I am privileged to be talking to Faith Okrafor Smart, who is in charge of
Melqosh Mission International.
Okay, and she is really helping war survivors in Sierra Leone, and she is going to tell us a little bit about her story. And so I would want to start by asking her, could you please briefly introduce yourself to our listeners?
My name is Faith Okrafor Smart, and I'm the founder of Melqosh Mission International, a charity birth, equip, educate, and empower female who lost their limbs during the 10-year war in Sierra Leone. We're also helping the dependents of the as they are vulnerable and in danger of being caught up in a vicious web of underclass if intervention is not taken.
Okay, that is very nice for you to have gone into such venture. How did you come up with this kind of story? How do you want to help? What is it? Tell us exactly what prompted you to help.
Well, my family were also affected by the war, besides my dad, because my siblings and my mom, we were here in the United Kingdom when the war broke up in Sierra Leone. Now, being that my dad was a member of parliament in Sierra Leone, he was a prime target of atrocities committed by the rebels. So the rebels had gone to the house, looted a house, beating him to a pulp. For 3 months, we were not aware of where he was in Sierra Leone. And when, after 3 months, we got news that he was alive, at some point we were told that he had passed away. In fact, he had been killed by the rebels. Some people had seen him beaten to unconsciousness, tied to a tree, and we were told that he had been burnt alive because some of the people who were killed were burnt alive, died. He was tied to a tree. Yep. He was beaten to unconsciousness. Wow. They did pour petrol upon him and put a tire to his neck to light the torch. But then just at that nick of time, the ECOMOG soldiers came and saved him. So he was whisked off to hospital in Lunge. That is one of the islands we have in Sierra Leone, where he was treated, and he was in and out of coma because he was also a hypertensive patient for even the war. So during that time, it was a very, very challenging time for our family, not knowing if he was alive or dead. That uncertainty alone was just a torture, going through that, the anxiety. So 2001, I went to Sierra Leone to see him because he'd had bouts of, heart attack, and I was told that if I didn't go to see him, I may never get to see my dad. So I took my family there, and upon getting there, I saw the destruction, the mass destruction in my country. I saw the human destruction. I saw the structural destruction. I saw the societal destruction. I knew that it's going to take decades to rebuild what had been destroyed in just 1 decade.
Wow. So that gave you the power and the zeal to put your own touch into it. You want to really help reconstruct your country, at least the people.
Definitely, because your health is your wealth.
That's right.
We need the health, good health in the mindset. We need a good health in the emotional state. We need good health even in the physical beings. Now, a lot of people had their limbs cut off. Mm-hmm. Other people were raped before they had their limbs cut off. So we are not just dealing with people who have gone through physical abuse. We're also dealing with people who have gone through emotional abuse.
Okay. Now, let me come back to what you said. You said you have to have the mindset. How did you get your own mindset?
Well, I got my own mindset from my own story. I'd gone through a very challenging time in my life where I encountered prejudice within my marriage. And to cut the story short, and my husband and I, we separated for a long time, and then we got divorced. And because of the prejudice that I've had, not even within my marriage, but even before the marriage, it got to a stage where at some point in my life, I was now questioning my own self-worth as a human being, my own self-worth as a woman. So when time came, when I came to realize, I was actually in a conference where the Lord had given me, a word from the Bible in the book of Micah 4, where it says, in that day I will gather her that is lame and make her a remnant, that is cast out, a strong nation. Now, I know what it means to be cast out because I have been cast out too. Go to deal with people. You of yourself, your mindset has to be right. You need to have received a healing. Or I always say, not every counselor will be able to, empathize with their counselees, because sometimes if you have not undergone a certain circumstance or situation, you may not be able to understand 100% what your counselee is actually going through.
Sure.
So for me to have gone through what I went through, that was able to prepare me to be able to deal with the emotional abuse that these people have gone through, be able to identify where we need to help, being able to also have a stronger mindset, a renewed mindset, a wholesome mindset to be able to go and reach out to those who need help.
Okay, so in fact, if I understand you well, it is from your own story that you had the compassion to help other people, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
And that is also the reason why in this this week we have Color Purple International Week, which starts from the 1st of December to the 7th of December. And the Color Purple Week is actually inspired from the movie titled Color Purple. That is a movie that was done by Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey.
That's right.
And these women depicted emotional abuse. They depicted domestic abuse. And I say I never went through domestic abuse, but I know what it means to go through an emotional one.
Okay.
So not necessarily from the spouse, but it could also be from maybe internal and external interferences as well within the home, within the family setting. So as a result, what we're doing in this week is actually to help mentor and support women who've gone through different types of abuse. I normally say the emotional abuse is even the worst one, because with the physical abuse you get to see the marks. It's easy for you to identify when somebody is actually going through a challenging time. But the emotional one is the quiet one, the hidden one. That's the most dangerous one, because a woman could be dressed from head to toe, nicely dressed, on point with their dressing, looking nice, saying it is well, I'm fine, smiling, but inside they're hurting, deep inside they're dying. And these are the women we're looking to address.
So in fact, you identify with these people?
Definitely, 100%.
Okay, that's wonderful. Can you say today that the difficulties you had in the past, you have overcome them? Could you say that?
Definitely, 100%. I can say that I have overcome that, and God has changed my circumstance from being a victim to a victor.
Okay.
And I'm now using my light to light the darkness around people, to use my candle to light other people's candle.
Okay. Could you please tell us, Faith, could you tell us in practical terms which were the steps? Which steps did you take? How did you do it? Because many of our listeners need practical examples. Could you give us one or two examples of what you did to conquer those difficulties you had in the past?
Well, one of the few things I did, I actually went to church. I found God.
Very good. That's good. Yeah, sure.
Others, but that was one of the first steps that and I have never turned back, and that has helped so much, because in finding my maker, there's a part where it says for you to recover, you must discover. So I had to go through a time of discovering myself, a time of discovering my purpose on earth, and it is in those seasons of discovering and learning and relearning about myself and my self-worth and my purpose and my destiny. That was what helped me to be able to recover the things that I'd lost, not necessarily everything, but the recovering of my self-worth, the recovering of my confidence, the recovering of my mindset. A lot of people would agree with me to say that divorce and separation can cause great mayhem in people's personal life. You have a lot of people who would go through, who might even commit suicide, or maybe would go to a mental home, or maybe you would find them becoming addict, either alcohol or substance. But my addiction became God. That is a practical thing for me. It worked for me. Not just that, I actually went and continued and got my education. And whilst I was studying, I was also able to basically, discover the hidden talents within me, and use that for the benefit of those who are crying, who are saying, where will help come from?
So let us say you are a living Messiah Messiah somehow.
That's a strong one. I don't want to use the word Messiah. That's what it's
Okay, now let me put it down a little bit. Now listen, because I like what you said. You said one thing. You said for you to recover, you have to discover, right? And so for you to recover, you discovered yourself. How did you discover that thing? Because you were trying to tell me that initially, before the time you were married, you didn't discover yourself, isn't it?
Yes. When I was younger, there are things that I'd known that I'd wanted to do. I came from a family. My dad being a member of parliament, when salary, he never reached salary. He would use his salary to feed the poor, the blind, the deaf, any person people with disabilities, So I grew up seeing the philanthropic work of my dad. My mom also was a medical doctor. She still is, because doctor never stops being a doctor.
Right.
And I saw her treating people for free. There are times people would come at the point of death, either through cholera or diarrhea, challenges that the person would be going through, critical illness, and they don't have money to pay. Now, my mom would not weigh money to a life. What she would do is treat the family and then try and see how they can raise money, So I grew up seeing my family helping a lot of people. So the seed had always been planted within me.
Okay. Right. So, in fact, in one way, your divorce accelerated that seed that has been planted into you before.
Yes, I would say that. Yes.
But if you were not divorced, would you have gone into charity?
Yes, because I had... The truth of the matter is, the week that I had planned on having our first meeting, it was meant to be on a Friday, and my ex-husband moved out of the house on the Monday. So I had, prior to the divorce and the challenges that I'd gone through, I was planning to set up a mini social system within the UK where people who the diaspora would sponsor at least one family affected by war. That had been my initial plan. But of course, when I went through my own personal problems, everything went to the back burner from 2 years. But the funny thing was that I would go to church and a man of God would come and tell me that you've got something that you need to do for God. Go and pray and find your destiny. Go and pray and find your God-given identity. And after going through all of that for a while, I actually went through a time of praying, seeking God, trying to discover my destiny. So I had actually, the seed had been there. I'd made a decision to make it, but to do charity work. But my personal challenges came, and I had to put that to a back burner for 2 years. So,
okay.
but I always say all things work together for good.
I guess. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think your divorce brought the whole thing to the fore and made you to really discover yourself, because maybe during your marriage you didn't think it was very necessary for you to discover who you were exactly, and then your divorce made it more compelling for you to discover who you are, so that and then you are now the kind of woman you want to be today, isn't it? You are now expressing yourself in real terms.
Well, I believe so. I believe that God allows us to go through certain fires in our life, or I would use the word challenges, to prune us, to refine us onto his glory, onto that which he wants us to do and to be. So there are certain times he will bring obstacles your way. They're not meant to break you, they're meant to make you. So it's all about your attitude towards life. If you have a good attitude and say, yes, challenges would come, but the challenges would not kill me, I will overcome. When you have the overcomer's attitude, you will reach a higher altitude in life. So right now, I am thankful that I went through what I went through, because God has given me a new story. God has given me a new life, and I am grateful, and it makes me fall in love with my maker every day.
Wow, that's great.
This is just the beginning.
I can imagine. Could you say it was a blessing in disguise?
I will say that now on hindsight,
right.
Having to look at my life now, I know that had I maybe still been married to my ex-husband, not that he's a monster, maybe I would have been too attached and not being able to do, of course, being a married person, you have to take care of the affairs of the home first. So that does not allow you to be able to commit to any, serious commitments such as charity. In a case where I had to start on my own, I became the international beggar, I became the founder, I became the marketeer, I became the promoter, I became the project manager, I became the event planner, all in one. Sometimes it is challenging. If whilst I was going through that, there had been a spouse that I had to come home and do the cooking. Whilst it's good to be married, but there's a time, even Paul says that if you can serve God 100%, if you can stay single to serve God, it's even good because you don't have the affairs of, family life. And I'm not knocking down marriages. I support marriage. And I one day believe that I am going to remarry again.
Okay.
This season is to also to help people who have nothing. Now I'm speaking about women who and their children are now becoming prostitutes because this is a female children, the female children of the amputees, both the male and female amputees. Now they go out there because their families are either the mother or the father, or even we have some families where the husband and the wife, both of them had their limbs cut off by rebels.
Wow.
Now these children, of course, the father and the mother cannot work, to provide them the opportunity to have a good education and better prospects in life. So they, in other words, become breadwinners. Some of them become prostitutes so that they can put food on their table. Now we're trying to curb the social malaise in Sierra Leone. And, I am in this project the 9 whole years. I'm in this in and out of season. And, I want to see a great outcome come out of this. I'm looking 5 years from now. I want to see a turnaround, a turnaround progress in their life, a circumstance where these children can say 2-3 years ago, I was in this circumstance, but look at me now, I've achieved so and so. I'm now helping my family. That's the reason why Melqosh, the name Melqosh means latter rain in Hebrew, where you have, before we had a latter rain of war, latter rain of affliction, latter rain of torment, pain, but now we're believing God for a latter rain of restoration, a latter rain of transformation, a latter rain of progress.
This is great. You are painting a very grim picture and you're making it hope, isn't it? There's hope at the end of the day. You're trying to tell us there's hope, even though the picture is very grim, because where small young ladies are, forced to prostitute to help their parents because their parents their limbs are cut. That's really very grim, isn't it?
But one thing I would say is because, for example, we started a project in 2008. I did a mini project with one girl that we took on board. I personally sponsored her, and by the time I returned in 2010, she told me, I've actually finished my education, and we're now looking to assimilate her into our project so that she can now work within our organization. Now that for me was, sample or model to say that, we can change lives, we can restore through God. And my faith, and I do not see in what people just see in the physical. I see beyond the physical. I see greater things, greener pastures for these people. And I know that God is going to also back my faith and back my deeds. Faith without deeds is useless. You can't just have faith without actually actualizing and taking the actions. And this is why we're doing as much as we can with Melqosh. We're executing our charitable activities. We go to Sierra Leone every year. We do our missions wherein we do cookout. This year we're actually going to Sierra Leone so that we can set up, an IT school, a supplementary school for the children of the amputees, so that we can give them much, much more prospect in getting, good education, a better opportunity to be able to get job. And we are looking long term to be able to even have a vocational school for the amputees, so they themselves can also have meaningful lives. There wouldn't just be, people who are just being given handouts, but they would be at a point. I see them as they would not lend, but they would lend onto others. That's how I see it.
This podcast was brought to you by the Motivational Radio France with their host, Lonjago in Paris.